Bring in more revenue while saving money and differentiate yourself from the rest of the pack vying to win those guests by becoming more environmentally friendly. We will show you how easy it is and how cheap it can be, if not free, and share all the opportunities available. So join us each week as we take another step along the green path. That's one more step to differentiate yourself from the rest of the pack. Proudly sponsored by the Book Direct Show, a green vacation rental conference. Learn more at bookdirect.show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Green Path podcast. So today, my special guest is Eric Broughton from OK2Charge. And today we are having a small step episode. We're going to learn all about EV cars and EV charging points. Hello, Eric. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
I'm very well. Thank you very much. And thank you for coming along and thanks for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Eric, let's start at the very beginning. Okay. Electric cars are gaining momentum. The prices are coming down. The prices are coming down.
Yes.
They're becoming more and more popular. But I suppose a lot of people are holding back from getting an electric car because they're a bit nervous about charging points. So your company offers charging points. No. Your company deals with charging points. Can you just start us off with charging points? I don't know anything about charging points, but I would like to offer my guests a charging point. What do I do? Can anyone do it? What's the story there?
Absolutely. So good morning. My name is good morning from the States. Eric Broughton, CEO of OK2Charge. What our company does is we enable vacation properties and apartment buildings to place electric vehicle charging stations at their properties. And then what we do is we layer on our firmware and software on top of it to control access to these chargers and allow the property owners and operators to manage and create revenue streams from these platforms. So now I'll step back and I'll address your question directly. There's 3 different levels of charging stations. So there's level 1, level 2, and level 3. And level 1, that's where you're plugging into an outlet on your wall, just like the lamp behind you, or plugging in your iPhone. And to charge a car, so I have a Tesla Model S, very large battery, 100 kilowatts. And I'll try not to get too technical. I'm an electrical engineer, and so if I start going there, you just say, Eric, let's dial it back and let's get back to some basics. But so level 1 is a kind of wall socket. You plug it in. The problem is that, as you can imagine, there's so little energy, electricity coming out of that going into your battery. It can take you 2 or 3 days to get your vehicle charged up. Yeah, it's not tenable. It's not, maybe if you're driving to the grocery and back, that's okay. But that's not good enough. Then there's level 2 chargers, and that's where our company plays. And a level 2 charger can charge your vehicle up anywhere from 4 hours if it's a smaller vehicle battery, up to about 8 to 10 hours if it's a large vehicle battery like mine. And that's perfect if you're staying overnight at a vacation property, or it's where you live in your apartment. That's a perfect environment for that. And a lot of retail stores, especially in the States, I was just at a Walgreens last night, it's a pharmacy, and they had a charging station out front where you plug in. That's a level 2 charging station, a little slower. And there's some uniqueness as well. It's usually 240 volts. Usually the amperage is kind of mid-range, and then the 120 volts is in the wall socket. And then there's level 3 chargers, and that's, most people know those as the Tesla superchargers. And these are these big stations, and what's unique is those are direct current, which also means it's very expensive to install, but they can charge up your car very quickly. And actually, to the point now where Tesla recommends, if you're driving across country, you will drive 150 miles, and then you will plug in you'll stop at a Tesla supercharger, but you only charge probably about 50% of your battery, and then get on your way. And that's because you can charge that up about 25 to 30 minutes in that time frame. So level 1, level 2, and level 3. So hopefully that helps set the stage of what those charging stations look like.
Okay, but the thing is then, to have a level 2 outlet at your property,
Yes.
is that a
Yes.
complicated thing to have to organize?
It's not very complicated, but it's complicated enough the average person should not try to install
Oh, of course.
that.
I wouldn't
Yes.
be saying this. No, but it's not like you need, like fresh wiring from the street to bring you more power or anything like that, is it?
That's a great question. No, it's
Okay.
more similar to an electric dryer or a hot tub is how we
Okay.
look at it. Yeah, so basic electrician can install this, and then you're going to see more and more electricians. We're not to the point where it's your local electronics store like a Best Buy Geek Squad can install it, but you do need an electrician to install certified because of the amount of voltage and the current going through. But yeah, think about it like an electric dryer or a hot tub.
Okay. So it's not an uncommon kind of thing to have at home then, that kind of power.
That's right.
Okay. And then I'm assuming then, of course, in a house, if you have a garage, that's the best place to put it. But you mentioned a block of flats before, a block of apartments. So you can have these sorts of outlets outside, located outside. But you obviously you have a cover, so no one else can just tap in and use your electricity.
You've got it. Yeah, that is exactly where our company and the genesis of where we came to be. Like myself, I own a home. I have my garage. I have my Tesla charger on the wall in my garage. There's no need to protect it because hopefully no one knows the secret code to my garage, to get in. However, if you own a vacation home, and a lot of these vacation homes maybe are by the beach or by the mountain, you do not have a garage. Or a garage, as it would be, and the cars would pull up. So a lot of our clients, our chargers are what's called NEMA 4X certified. So they're a very tightly enclosed container. Can't let sand, water, ice, anything into those, and they can be on the outside of the building. That's how we have it. And a lot of our clients will put them on the outside of the home, especially a vacation property. Someone can pull up with their car. And then where our platform is unique, we'll have a QR code like you have at restaurants. You scan it with your phone, and then you compare and say, okay, I am Eric Broughton staying at this property at this date. We integrate with their property management system and do a handshake, confirm, okay, Eric Broughton is supposed to stay here for these dates. He can use this charger. Or in case the property manager wants to charge an extra amenity fee, you have to pay $20 US or $30 to use the spot fee for the day or buy for the whole time period. So that's how we created into amenity and also have access control, to your point.
Wow. Okay. So you can actually charge a flat rate as an amenity fee or use as you go. Now, this is something that I was really surprised to learn. I always assumed that it cost a fortune to charge up electric car. And when I was told, in Europe, it's like €7 to charge a battery, I was shocked. I really didn't think it was that cheap. So, property managers who are thinking, they're not going to suck my energy. No way, it's too expensive. It's actually not, is it?
It's not. But the unique perspective that you're talking about is from a consumer. If I'm a consumer or I'm a guest or I'm staying at that flat or that apartment, that's a low cost to me because I'm comparing it to a gasoline price, right? So to fill up my Tesla from say 10% to 90% battery, it may cost me about $12 to $15 depending on time of day. So it's great, US dollars. How if that was gasoline at these prices, it may be closer to 100. Now put on your property manager hat or property owner hat. If someone is taking $12, $15 every other day from your property, that starts to add up. So it's all a perspective of how you're looking at it. And as a property owner, you're not used to giving away $15 of electricity every other day or every day. If someone's charging at a flat, that can become very cumbersome. And what we've seen is that when people install 1 or 2 electric vehicle chargers to be altruistic and trying to be green, which is absolutely the right thing, but they're not charging any dollars for it. They're just putting that back in the common area, and everyone has to pay for that. And that's where we're saying, no, let's make sure that the people that are using it pay for the electricity and transfer those costs, because then you'll put in more chargers, and that creates that sustainability, renewable revenue for the owner, for the operator, and then doing the right for the world as well by creating more EV chargers.
Yeah, I've seen on Facebook groups where they're talking about chargers and like, who pays? Should I charge the guest, or why should I be paying for it? Whatever. And I don't know if they. I mean, look, it is a small amount, but like you said, if it's every day that they have to recharge, okay, that's fair enough. But I think a lot of people are really freaked out by how much energy it will pull. Just like I thought it would pull a lot of energy. And I didn't even think about pulling energy every day if they're going to use the car every day. So, yeah, I was really surprised. And I think that's something not to be feared, the cost, especially because, as someone else pointed out, if that EV driver was driving out on the street and pulled into the supermarket and used theirs, they have to pay. Yeah. So they're used to having to pay. It's okay that you charge them for the electricity because, no one's giving free petrol away anywhere. So
that's exactly right.
Yeah. So I don't see that there's any problem in charging. And was someone this morning was saying something, was it this morning or maybe you mentioned earlier, something about it costs $7 to charge, but the guest gave me 10. So, it's not nothing. It's really nothing. So in terms of getting that level 2 electricity, it's actually like, it's not a huge expense. It's a call out for an electrician and not too much more than that, is it?
It's not. There's different, depending on your property. If you look at a vacation property where you're just putting it on the wall, that's pretty reasonable, less than $1,000. Where it gets expensive is these large apartment buildings, where perhaps they need to install 8 chargers or 12 chargers. And that's where sometimes your electrical, your box and you don't have enough power for that property. That's where you make the trench and add in another junction box and different things. That's where it starts to add up. But still, if you make that relative to what I was talking about earlier, those level 3 chargers, where you see the 8 banks or 12, those can be tens of thousands of dollars. We're talking $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 to install those. And those are more like the ChargePoint and Blink and Electrify America and all these large platforms that install those systems, because they're thinking about it more like a gas station rather of how we're thinking about it. Whereas people want to charge at home, where they live, they work, and they vacation.
Yeah, I suppose if you've got those big ones and people can charge quickly, and if you've got the charging points in the right place, that could be regularly used. That could be regularly drip feeding money into your bank account.
That's right.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's where we do need both. We need both, at least today. So you'll see in the States, it's the Build Back Better program. $5 to $7 billion to make sure along the highways they have these supercharging stations. I think that's definitely needed if you're driving across the country, because you don't want to pull into someone's house and sit for 8 hours. You want to charge for 30 minutes, drive for a bit. Now I'm very anxious person, and I don't like sitting for 20 to 30 minutes and then driving an hour and a half and then sit for 20 to 30 minutes. So I actually, my wife's vehicle, it's a hybrid, so it has electric, battery, plus an internal combustion engine. If you'll see it says ICE, ICE. That's where it stands for internal combustion engine. Where I can plug in her vehicle and I can run a battery for 30 minutes or 30 miles, I should say. So we can drive around town, pull it in home, plug it in. It's great. So that's what I'll use for trips, just because I'm too anxious for the long trips.
Now
they call it range anxiety.
Long range anxiety is a great one. We were talking earlier on about apps that if you were to put in a charging point and you were allowing the public to use your charging point, there are apps where people can find you on a map saying you can charge up here, and you become like an electric service station.
Yes. Yeah. We're seeing more and more, like Google Maps and Apple Maps will start to embed those charging stations into their platform, which is great. The best platform that we've found is an app called PlugShare. I believe EVgo purchased them, but they'll have all the different charging stations. What we like about them as well is you can actually say these chargers are open to the public, or these are not open to the public. And one thing that we've done recently is that we've been actually even embedding in the link to their listing. So the book direct, they can actually book from that and link off their website. So very exciting, right from PlugShare.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great. Now, I know that you're based over in America. Are you seeing EV chargers picking up in America? Are you aware of what's going on in Europe in terms of EV charging?
We are. Europe is well ahead of the US as far as adoption. Yes,
Wow.
almost twice the adoption. And then something fascinating that I've recently learned about that's happening in Europe versus the US is that in Europe for level 2 chargers, you bring your own cable to connect to the charger. In the States, it's expected that the cabling is part of the charging station itself. So a little bit of nuance. And then something else that's interesting between the two environments are the standards for the plugs. So in the US, for a level 2 charger, there is a standard. It's called the J1772. So every car except Tesla has the same connector. Yes, indeed. But in Europe, you've standardized and essentially forced Tesla to use all the standard charging plug, whereas there's a different plug for the level 3, those direct charging. So there's still some nuance between this. Yeah. So, but the nice thing is we're getting there to a uniform. I mean, I need to charge one cable for my iPhone, another one for my laptop, another for my Android for my daughter, those different things. But we're getting there on the charging. So that's another nuance to keep in mind when you're driving across the country. And that's usually just make sure you have the adapter with your car for those different stations.
That's fantastic. So tell me, would there be any reason why a property manager or owner wouldn't put in an EV charging point?
Not really. I just see. Now I'm a little biased, but I always recommend easing into it because there's operational challenges for running it, such as do we charge people? Do we not charge them dollars to do this? How do we explain it? There's usually our platform requires Wi-Fi connection, so making sure there's Wi-Fi because we need to communicate back and forth, which is pretty standard anymore at these areas. But what I generally recommend is start out with 1 or 2 properties. Install it. And then what we're seeing though is you make sure your listing says EV enabled. And first thing you start to see is your ADR, your rates start to go up because EV drivers are generally a higher income demographic. And also there's a value add for that amenity just to have that accessible. I think the most valuable properties we're seeing is if you're within about 200 miles of a major metro area, because that's about the normal range of an EV driver platform. Whereas during the pandemic, most people would go on a vacation anywhere up to 400 miles of their location. We saw that as kind of a data metric. But as far as EVs, it's about that 200-mile range. It's like Denver, there's Breckenridge, which is maybe 90, 60 or 70 to 90, 80 miles away from Denver. A lot of EVs are going there. Lake Tahoe, all these different places around the states that are near major metro areas. People will drive their EVs to these vacation destinations.
Yeah, that's great. Look, I think besides the environmentally friendly aspect to things, given the price of petrol these days, I mean, it's almost becoming a no-brainer, and the price of EV cars are coming down, electric cars are coming down, and the price of petrol, well, I think this is definitely somewhere that we need to get to. And a service that we need to offer, and particularly because, like you were saying, there are a lot more people with EV cars that are driving, and if we can, if a property manager can put in their listing that they offer an EV charging point, that will make their listing a lot more attractive. And that's great. Look, this is a very big niche market that we are trying to tap into, and this is definitely one amenity that's going to make them go, oh yeah, okay. We need to go there.
Yeah, we have one client. He had as a property in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. He installed one of our chargers, listed it. His mindset was, I went from 1,400 competitors to now I only have 4 competitors in this market because he's an EV charger, and he was able to land a $4,000 booking in the off season because he had an EV charging station at this property. He said, I've never booked in this off season, but yet I get a booking for a rate that's almost the same as peak season. It was amazing.
Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah. Look,
Another,
yeah.
we've seen another client was able to get, this person stayed. They booked 5 separate charging sessions at $30 a day, so $150 extra. And this client was very happy to be able to stay, that guest, because they were able to charge their vehicle instead of dropping off the kids and driving into town to go to a charging station. You park right there and go enjoy the beach or the mountain and have some fun.
Mm-mm. And it's one of those great things where you come home at night, plug it in, and that's it. Car's ready for the next day.
Exactly, exactly. And that's probably, you just touched on something probably unknowingly, but it's the letting it charge overnight is one thing we're going to start seeing. You spoke about electricity usage as more and more people get electric cars, and the electricity grid starts to be performing more charging electric cars. What you'll see is time of day charging become more of an issue. And I know that Europe again is ahead of the US in that the time of day you charge is a different price point. So one of the things we built in is that we can actually do a slower charge during more expensive times. And then let's say it's at 1 a.m. Now we can charge full and just charge it right up and just open the floodgates. So that's another mindset change, and software needs to be in place to do that.
Yeah. Wow. And I I'm not a sustainability expert, but from what my understanding is, with solar panels, you can generate electricity. I wonder if we'll get to a point, or if we are already there, that you can generate the electricity to power the car.
Absolutely. Yes, we are already there. Yeah. And I just posted this on LinkedIn actually, is that in the first quarter in the US, more than 25% of the electricity supplied was renewable electricity. So we are getting there, and Europe is even ahead of the States with wind power and solar and hydro. It's very exciting time. So that's where it's not just the right thing to do from an economic perspective, but from a green sustainability perspective, it's just going to keep on getting better and better. And as you know, when the sun shines and wind blows, it's usually when we need most electricity.
No, that's fantastic, because people will think, oh, how am I going to get a return on investment for the solar panels? Well, hey, presto, boom, put your EV charging point in, and there you go.
Exactly. And now even my lawnmower is electric, and my hedge trimmer is electric. So it's all going that direction.
Oh, that's fantastic. Wow. Okay. Look, I think it's a no-brainer, actually. But anyway, have we not touched on anything that you should mention about charging points, cars? I think, we need more charging points. So there's no charging point anxiety. We can't be having that.
That's right. Yes, exactly. I think it just goes back to every situation is unique and different, as we know from the vacation and the holiday and how people vacation. So look at your property with the perspective of what's going to add the most value for your guests. And just like anything we do in life, it's the right thing for them. It's going to be the right thing for the environment. So just provide a convenient amenity and then charge them accordingly so that you have the return. So you're not losing dollars in that property for your manager and operator. And from there, everybody wins.
And just to reiterate, guests don't expect the charge to be free. If they have to pay for it outside, why shouldn't they pay for it inside? So yeah.
That's exactly right. Yes, they're used to putting in their credit card. The nice thing is you send them a notification 2 days in advance, which we do, and we say, hey, would you like to pay in advance for this? That way, when they show up, they scan it, they're already approved, and they start charging. So it's a really easy to use amenity.
Fantastic. Well, there is a Techsplained episode about OK2Charge, so everyone should have a peek at that. I'll put the link in the description below. If anyone has any questions about EV charging points or any questions for Eric, please pop them in the comments below. I'd love for this conversation to keep going, because I think this is a really, really good one. Eric, thank you very, very much for your time. This has been really, really interesting.
Looking forward to it. Thank you so much, Deborah. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.